Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm sure that we'll come back to you after giving the opportunity to the audience to share with us their experience. I have seen there. Do we have a micro, un baladeur? Okay, we have it. So over there, our friend from,
Thank you,
please.
I'm Mamun from Bangladesh. I'm working as
Bangladesh,
CEO of one private TPO for Center for Business Development and Communication. So I have one, actually I have more than one thing to know, that whether the private sector are willing to pay for the service cost, I mean, if any, and also to know the position of private TPOs, if there is any comparison to government and institutional TPOs in terms of enhancing the competitiveness of private sector enterprise to the global market. This is one thing, and other thing, how rural areas are covered where small and agriculture sectors are involved. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I see another. Please introduce yourself briefly and speak louder and slowly for us to make sure we get your point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Can you close your microphone? Please. Yes.
Turn me?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. My name is Hari Murbalalana. Oh, okay, please you. Okay.
Okay, monsieur. Yeah, please.
Je crois que cette session est au cœur de nos préoccupations. Parce que nous devons, en tant qu'organe de promotion, apporter des soutiens ciblés à nos exportateurs, surtout qui sont dans des zones rurales. Pour ce qui concerne mon pays, le Bénin, nous avons des matières premières agricoles. Et aujourd'hui, on est en train de pousser nos opérateurs économiques à beaucoup plus produire à partir des matières premières des produits destinés à l'exportation. Alors le grand problème qui se pose à ces exportateurs depuis pratiquement 2 ans, c'est que les produits existent. Maintenant, il faut rechercher les marchés. Et au cours du dernier forum que la CEDEAO a organisé dans notre pays, forum des exportateurs, il était question que les organismes de promotion se mettent en réseau. Ça a été très difficile parce que le marché étant très segmenté, il faut pouvoir regrouper ces organismes-là pour pouvoir échanger sur les possibilités qu'offrent ces différents marchés. Cela a été d'une grande difficulté pour nos OPC de se retrouver. Alors, nous voudrions demander ici quels sont les conseils que les panélistes peuvent nous donner pour régler ce problème, parce que nos marchés étant des marchés complémentaires, je crois que nous pouvons trouver des solutions à nos opérateurs économiques au niveau de nos différents marchés domestiques. C'était ma première préoccupation. La seconde, effectivement, il faut que les produits soient des produits assez compétitifs. Si nous prenons certains produits, tels que le beurre de karité, sur lequel nous travaillons depuis bientôt 2 ans, nous avons appliqué le même système que nous avons sur le projet Agon, qu'on a réussi grâce à l'ITC à mettre nos opérateurs économiques internationaux. Mais nous avons de sérieuses difficultés pour certains opérateurs qui, aujourd'hui, grâce à nous, ont commencé par transformer sur place les produits du beurre de karité en différents produits. Alors, on voudrait savoir, grâce à vos différents conseils, parce que pour ce qui concerne l'aspect financier, nous avons réussi à travailler avec des banques primaires qui sont aujourd'hui prêtes à accompagner ces exportateurs. Mais le grand problème qui se pose à eux, c'est en dehors des marchés domestiques, comment faire pour assurer leur croissance en leur trouvant des débouchés sur les marchés extérieurs. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup. Question extrêmement importante. Je suis sûre que les panélistes vont revenir là-dessus. mais j'avais vu, voilà, une main se lever juste en face au milieu. Please, can you please take the floor?
Thank you. My name is Heri Murbalalana. I am lecturer in University Trisakti Jakarta, and I am instructor Export-Import Training Center under Ministry of Trade Republic Indonesia with call name PPA. My experience 30 years as bankers in BNI. This question to address to Mr. Ahmad Baikuni. BRI, my business is micro banking, not more experience in trade finance. How to make sure your programs to support small enterprise go to international market can be running well in implementation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Monsieur Baikuni. You will respond to her later. I see back here, oui, vous avez la parole, monsieur, à gauche.
Good afternoon. My name is Lamin Gay from the Gambia Investment and Export Promotion Agency. With regards to the SME financing scheme presented by Mr. Baikuni, I would like him to kindly shed more light on the empowerment support program to SMEs and how is it administered. Secondly, to share with us the percentage of the interest component absorbed by the government of Indonesia for the subsidized loans for small and medium enterprises. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I come back to the panel and have a second round in a few minutes to really make sure that our panelists can have all your questions in mind? I have heard about the network, all right, how to really operate and have an efficient network, given the complementarities of the different markets. I have heard about value-added services. The shea butter in Benin has a good case study, and also, Mr. Baikuni, you have been interpellated on the whole trade finance process on top of how we empower SMEs. So, whomever wants to take the floor to cover. Mr. Baikuni first, please.
Thank you very much. First, I will answer regarding how BRI can serve the local exporters. Since BRI known as a SME, but not yet known as a exporter bankers. I think right now BRI start to promote the export services through we set up what we call it the integrated trade finance product solutions. We set up the trade processing center, and also we have what we call it the trade finance officers. Our trade finance officers, we deploy our trade finance officers in the region offices, not only in the region office, but also in some in the big brands in Indonesia. We conduct a trade finance workshop or training to our exporter or local producers. And also we join with the TPO sometime, and also we conduct by ourselves trade exhibition and partnership program through BRI customer corporate social responsibility. And also in order to support the export activity, we open weekend branch in major ports such as in Jakarta, Medan, Surabaya, and Makassar. And last, our trade finance officer can be act as a BRI trade advisory services. This all what we have done in order to promote the export of our customer.
Great. Thank you. Great. Mr. Chaudhuri?
Well, coming to the question of who is going to bear the cost, I think ultimately it would be the SMEs, rural exporters, that have to bear the cost. But I mean, if it's a business case, if it's support service on a scalable level, in that case, I think it would make business sense, and like there should be a tariff structure how to go about it. And like I said before, the SMEs, they don't have the manpower or the expertise, or they cannot even invest for that. So if they pay a fee for outsourcing this service, why not? I think this is how the model should be devised.
Do you think they can afford bearing that cost? I think that's a serious challenge.
No, you see, like they already are, I mean, borrowing at very high cost. I mean, like I told you before, it's not a question about the cost of finance, like it's the availability of finance. So this fee would not really put a dent on their profitability or in their enterprise. That's my view from the exporter, from the rural-based SME or exporter's view.
Absolutely. Mr. Fred, that real challenge of multiple actors, all right, came back again. How do you think that networking challenge can be really covered to make, you know, our audience really comfortable that they can take out of your business model in order to, because clearly there are many actors in the field, all right? And honestly, I'm not sure that connection and coordination is really the credo usually. Usually we ignore each other, we compete among ourselves as trade promotion organizations and trade support institutions. What model can you really share definitely for Mr. Akinde to be, you know, to take it out of here and apply the same model in his own country?
And we were also talking about the value-added services we can provide.
Yes.
Well, something I would like to share with you is not recent, but a model we have developed in the last years, which is what we called the exporter's route, which is, let's say, a roadmap where the companies engage to access or to successfully access the international market. So this exporter route basically is a systematized the services we provide to the companies, which are classified in 4 big groups. We have the basic one, which is orientation or guidance for the companies. Then we have information services, which range from very general information to specialized, tailor-made information, research studies, etc., for the companies. Then we have the training and technical assistance programs focused to tackle some specific bottlenecks. And finally, once the companies are export ready, we engage them in the promotional tools like fairs, like missions, etc. Okay, so within these 4 big groups of services, what we do is identify which are the strengths of each of these network partners. So we know which of them have the better capacities in each one of them, and we start developing the services through them in this specialized kind of support services. This allows us to try to find this specialization in the different trade support institutions, not only to make them specialists in the topic, but also to avoid doubling efforts and being more efficient in the use of the limited resources that developing countries as Peru still face as a problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm sure that Mr. Akinde and others understand very well that model. And I would like, before coming back to the floor, we still have, let's say, 10, 15 minutes, to share with you 3 slides. If we can have the free last slide right now. For you to, I just want to share with you the current situation, regularly and usually observed in most of our countries, where this organization, Aissatou, can you help to have the free slides, which then will show you the situation of duplication, multiplication of efforts, of course leading to very, very high transaction costs. And we do believe that putting all these together in an organized manner, taking into account the comparative advantages you have talked about, here it is. This is a situation today. I mean, we all face regularly in our countries. Multiple institutions, you know, lots of efforts, demultiplication, and if you move to the next, that's the ideal solution, because you can see that everyone's needs transport, needs logistics, need freight forwarders, and all of those things. Getting that organized helps bring, I would say, 50% of the solution. Of course, all of this means, first, I would say, understand the market requirement first before you do all of these things. But once you have the buyer requirement, the buyer need, the buyer real specificities, and then you move through trying to get all of this organized, I think this can be part of the solutions to really help. And you can see in the last slide very, very quickly, easily also that out of this logistic service, because mostly in rural areas, we talk about agribusiness, right? And our colleague Baikuni talked about the tourism, connecting those rural producers to the tourism value chain. That's what I called about sourcing local and helping these collection service centers really be effective. Helps also really reduce that high transaction cost, take into account everyone's comparative advantage, and in that regard, it is clear that what I could call the chef d'orchestre would be the TPO, or the equivalent of the TPO, to make sure that all of these different services are provided. I think that can be also part of the solution. But I'm sure, coming back to the floor, I see a hand right there. What do you think? What's your view on all of this? And if you have questions also, please share.
Is it okay? Can you listen to me? It's okay. Yeah. I think after hearing all about, I must say, the situation, you were trying to sort of give guidelines to the people who are sitting right over there as speakers.
Are you listening?
I think the brief about this session was much in departure with what we were hearing. I thought that maybe we are talking about the comparative, highly disadvantaged position in the rural society, and the people who mostly provide the employments, the people who are larger in number, they are the main consumers. They help in creating the inward movements of demand. They help in sort of consuming the goods, and that is the way the prosperity increases. But then in order to increase the prosperity, the first and foremost is that we have to provide them support in order of 2 paradigms. Number one, they produce raw materials in major what is called agriculture produce. And number 2, they also try to become small producers, and still they have yet to be integrated. In this brief, I see that there is an urge for a discussion as how these problems could be solved by integrating them through using all the modes available, like chambers of commerce, different sectorial and all that. But now here we were hearing about a banker from Bangladesh, and I'm very much sure that commercial banks do not come to the support of such reasons. They must work commercially, and rightly he said that they provide credit to the SMEs at much higher spread because they think there is a much risk. So that means considering a commercial bank to be the source of providing any support to the rural society should be out of the question, let me say, because they have their own reasons. They cannot take risk. Now, coming back to the, I think, BR1 of Indonesia, probably that model, I think, has to be understood. But in that model, I just see that a speaker said that there are product issues. Yes, I also concede. There are marketing issues. Yes, I would also concede. Then there are financial issues. And about all, he again talked like a typical commercial banker by saying that there are banks' risks. Of course, the bank risks are more important for the commercial banks, but those banks like export, import, and all supporting banks which are provided money from the taxpayers, like in Indonesia, I'm sure that government must have given a budgetary allocation to absorb some of the markups, which I must call subsidized markup. And maybe budgetary allocations are available to also absorb risks, you see. And maybe the Central Bank of Indonesia has certain prudential regulations in which they also allow them to work, though they afford risks. But the problem is that I think this bank, without the linkage to any TPO, this bank without any linkage to other organization, probably with its own command, may not be able to achieve what it is required to achieve. In the end, if it just accumulates non-performing loans, it is the time then the government also thinks politically that that bank does not work well, you see, and it comes to seize, you see. And what I want to say is that in the rural society, you see, the subsidy, we are talking about markup subsidies on the products, but we are not talking about the subsidies on the raw materials of agriculture which are produced. In fact, these raw materials are converted into products. So we are talking about only products. We limit ourselves something which is value added, but we don't restrict ourselves to the need of improving the total productivity factor in the rural society, which is in the form of agriculture, you see. Most of the countries, they totally depend and rely on agriculture. If we are talking about national food security programs, every country is now very much concerned. So I just see that these linkages do not appear to have been spoken by the speakers, you see. You were sort of trying to focus on Peru, and you were really trying to, I would say, extort or extract some of the things he must say, but still the things were very weak. I'm sorry to say that. Let me be also apologetic, and thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you very much, a very important point. And getting access to finance will be totally covered tomorrow for those who would be there during tomorrow's sessions, through which we will go through all of these, including starting, I would say, from the real risk at the SME level. But I'm sure that the panelists will respond shortly and briefly to you in the last round. Today, we were really trying to see how the connection between the different service providers in rural areas can be effective and efficient. And in that regard, I think what have been shared so far can be good cases to share.